so many rules in 40K, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Tier List Tuesday. We got an exciting one today because the last one we did, which was about units and the killing combos, like how killy can you make a unit, was very popularly received. There was a lot of discussion on Reddit about it, which is awesome to see. That's kind of the main goal with these, is they're not the end of a discussion, but the beginning.
I want to credit the person who managed to get an infinite cultist kill on the cultistometer. So the scenario, just so that you could actually try and do the cultistometer on Reddit, what they said was it was an infinitely large cultist brick. And so somebody just rocked up and said, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast the Exactor's Power from Grey Knights that for every model in the unit you're engaged with, roll a die on a 4+, it takes a mortal wound. So like, all right, so I'll kill half the unit. Half of infinity is a smaller infinity. So I've killed infinite cultists, and all of you are plebs, and you can go home.
And we finally found a use for the Exactor's Brotherhood in Grey Knights.
Kills infinite cultists, apparently.
As long as you're in combat with them. So we really enjoyed seeing that, and we do check the Reddits every now and again. But today we're going to be talking about top kind of killy character combos. So what are some of the most interesting combos that either we play in our own games or we've played against? Like I said, this is not going to be a definitive list. There's tons of killy, awesome characters in the game, but we are going to focus on the ones that we appreciate the most and love, and share them with you.
And there's no particular order, although I think the ones towards the end tend to be a little bit.
We tried to make those are the ones you're seeing in top tier competitive lists.
Yeah.
But the other ones are still quite good.
This is how can you kit out a character to make it really
awesome.
Really go.
Awesome.
Really go burr, you know?
All right, starting off with one that Jack loves himself. I actually got a not of his chapter. I didn't get to play Blood Angels at the finals, but I did bring this chaplain, and he was awesome.
Yes. So this is the Primaris chaplain on bike. It's the only Primaris model on bike, other than some.
Which is a shame because the
only
bikes are so
character
cool.
on bike. Yeah, it's the only character on bike, which is kind of weird, but whatever, it's fine. This is specifically the Blood Angels one, because I like my Blood Angels, and also their rules tend to gear them pretty well towards being beat stick characters. This guy has Armor Indomitus. He has 2 Warlord traits. So he has Artisan of War, which gives him another relic, which gives him an Adamantine Mantle for a 5-up Feel No Pain. And then he has Gift of Foresight, which is a really good Warlord trait. It lets him reroll a hit, a wound, and a saving throw every turn, your turn and your opponent. A hit, wound, and a saving.
Not or?
Not or. Most of those kind of Warlord traits are or. This one's and. That guy is super tough. He has 8 wounds because Indomitus gives you an extra one. He has a 2-up armor save when he normally doesn't. Armor of Contempt. He has a 3-up invuln once a game when you activate it. He has a 5-up Feel No Pain. He can activate Transhuman for 1 CP. And then he rerolls a save for free as well. And on offense, if he activates Mantra of Strength, he has 7 attacks at Strength 7, AP 2, Damage 3 with reroll a hit and a wound with +1 to wound because he is Blood Angels. The guy bops.
He bops.
He bops very hard. He is also incredibly hard to kill, so that's kind of a different avenue that you have access to in Blood Angels, because he can just sideswipe an enemy unit and just take it out of the fight for a turn because, oh, you didn't kill me, so you're stuck here with me.
He's a great Angel Sacrifice guy to just jam himself in there and be like, I'm going to soak up this damage.
Yeah, he's a huge booty. His base is gigantic. He'll soak up a lot of attacks. And then also, a lot of the time you're running, or I like to run Selfless Healer. Other people don't, but I do, which means you can heal this guy for 3. And watching Nick move heaven and earth to do 3 wounds to this guy is awesome when you know that that's all just going away on the following turn.
Am I the only person who's killed him in your games?
My Blood Angel games can go pretty bloody. I assume he's usually the last one to die, though.
The Rust Stalker's got him.
Yeah, barely, but yes.
Yeah, but he's an absolute tank, and he's awesome in White Scars as well. You can just load him up with all sorts of stuff. And,
Space Wolves too.
Yep.
Space Wolves too, but the Blood Angel one has a special place in my heart. And you'll see a lot of my characters, I think a lot of my combos are a mix of durability and offense, because it really makes your characters hard to deal with, and they can just snowball through the game. Because if you're all offense, then your opponent will just go deal with them, because they're not that durable. But if they're a mix of both, then they can just kind of go and just try and win the game that way.
All right. Moving on to our next choice here. This is one that's near and dear to my heart. It's the Enforcer Commander in Tau.
Boy.
So what is this guy baseline? He's got 7 wounds, 2 up armor save. He's -1 damage. And then on top of that, you're going to give him a variety of buffs. So first of all, Precision of the Hunter is a Warlord trait for full rerolls to hit and wound. Because he's not a Cold Star, you can put Cyclic Ion Blasters on him. I like putting 3. I know it's pricey, but it's awesome. And then I like putting a Flamer and upgrading it to the prototype Thermoneutronic Projector, which means he's going to get a combat attack out of this. And that combat attack is his 4 base, and then it's 2 plus D6, so 6 plus D6 combat attacks, Strength 4, AP 2 damage.
That's not that great, but...
Full rerolls to hit and wound.
Oh, that's pretty great.
It really does add up, and he hits on 3s in combat, which is not too bad. So this guy is just awesome. He's got volume of fire. He can pick a lot of stuff up in shooting. And then in combat, he just is like, I'm going to just punch out all sorts of characters. He's killed Karandras. He's killed Troop Masters. Doesn't matter. He kills stuff.
Yeah, it's like good supplemental damage.
Exactly.
Because it's very reliable.
And you can charge on, use him to get onto an objective, finish a unit off that you didn't kill in the shooting, and, take
what if
away
I want to
objectives.
kill this guy, though?
If you want to kill him, well, he can bring 2 drones with him. So
That's annoying.
Typically a shield drone and a marker drone, although you can put any combination in there. It's just extra ablative wounds. But the relic that you want to put on him is the Begel Hunter's Plate. Or the Bagel Hunter, as we fondly call it. That gives you +1 save, so his 2-up goes to a 1-up, which means against AP1 he's just taking 2-ups, against AP2 he's taking 3-ups, and obviously that can, against shooting attacks, that can stack with cover because he's infantry. So he's just standing on there at a 0-up. Awesome.
Pretty good.
This is pretty
Hard
darn
to shoot
good.
him to death.
And then he's got a 5-up Pain on top of that, so he can soak mortal wounds, and he has.
What is he? I think he has 7 wounds, right?
7
and
wounds.
And he's -1 damage because he's an Enforcer Commander. And he's toughness 5 with a 2-up armor save with +1 to the saving throws. And 5-up feel no pain. Yeah, that guy doesn't die.
No, he soaks so much damage. I love this guy. In Kalyun, he's absurd in the late game with the volume of attacks, of shots that he has, just exploding all over the place. One of the Warhammer games recently, I killed John's Flying Hive Tyrant with just this guy in the Kalyun turn where it was exploding, and I just rerolled everything and got 18 hits.
Yeah, I think you super kill him.
I dramatically overkilled him, but I was like, I needed him dead.
Yeah, this guy shoots. Make sure he's standing in terrain too, so that when they charge you, you overwatch.
Yep.
And hitting on 5s with full rerolls to hit and
Because
wound.
he's infantry, he can set to defend.
Yeah, if you get shot by this guy on the fourth turn with Kalyan exploding 5s on Overwatch when he's touching terrain, because he can Overwatch better in terrain, set to defend or whatever it's called.
It's hold steady.
Hold steady.
Set to defend's the combat one.
Yeah. And then he hits on 5s, rerolling. Every hit is 2 hits, and rerolling wounds as well. And he's just like, "Oh, you're dead."
Well, speaking of which, you could set to defend him too, so he hits on 2s in combat.
That's pretty cool.
If he gets charged,
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah. Because people can turn off your Overwatch or mitigate it, and you're like, fine, I guess I'll just hit on 2s.
Yeah, with 4 rerolls. So this guy's Tonka tough. You don't see him all the time because his buff gives OBSEC to crisis suits, and you're all about killing people, not really playing out an OBSEC trading game with Tau nowadays. But it is a big benefit in the late game if you do get there. Making your crisis units OBSEC is awesome.
Yeah, the way that he normally plays is a little more passive than I think Tau can afford right now.
See, I've been playing him very aggressive. I've run him in my last 2 lists, and I used to play him kind of like KG with my Crisis Commander nearby and playing this long game. But I was like, nope, I'm going to just play super aggressive. He goes and starts in Deep Strike with a 3-man Crisis unit, comes down with them, and then, yeah, you kill the 3-man Crisis unit, but he's right there. You're not doing that.
He does sound just like a baller character.
He is a baller.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, he's pretty awesome.
Bagel Hunter.
Hard to deal with. Like, really hard to deal with.
All right, moving on to a absurdly cheap character. You may not have seen this guy on the table, but I played him at the finals the US Open Finals in Crimson Fist, where he didn't get any buffs whatsoever. But in actual good chapters like Blood Angels or White Scars, this guy is an absolute man. So this is the chapter champion from Space Marines. I believe he is 60 points. He's 55 points base, and you pay 15 points to make him
like
the
70 points. It's
chapter
nuts.
champion. Why is he so good? Well, it's because of relics and warlord traits. I believe he's 5 base attacks, and he gets reroll wounds against characters, and he can also heroic intervention 6. But on top of that, when you give him the chapter champion upgrade, which is the Blade of Triumph, he gets flat 3 damage in White Scars on the charge, flat 4 damage, absurd. Yeah. And he's also high AP in Assault Doctrine. I think he goes to AP 4 on that. And he's Strength 8 if you bring the Warlord trait Imperium Sword to give him +1 Strength and +1 Attack.
Yeah. In White Scars, you can go like even further than that. There are a bunch of upgrades you can do in White Scars. Because in Space Marines, you can give a guy 2 Warlord traits and a relic. And that's the point where a character becomes absolutely nuts, which is why the Premier Spike Chaplain was so good. You can give him, what are they called? Hunter's Instincts, which is against monsters and vehicles, you get +1 to hit and wound. The +1 to hit doesn't matter as much, but sometimes it does if they have a minus. And then there's a Chagorian Storm for plus D3 attacks. And then he's damage 4 with his relic with +1 to hit and wound and D3 attacks. And he just goes in and goes
Bop, and then
with 6 plus D3 attacks.
In White Scars, he has advance and charge access too.
Absolutely,
So he's
he goes
super
fast. Yeah, He. I remember he went in on 2 of my Armigers and killed both. The White Scars chapter champion hits like nobody else.
The base one hits really hard. For a 70-point model, he is really cheap.
Yes.
And actually good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, in White Scars or Blood Angels, he's way better. I guess Blood Angels can't take him.
Blood Angels can. It's just the elite slots that are the problem. But yeah, he bangs super hard in Blood Angels too, because he is natively just +1 to wound at all times. And you can give him Gift of Foresight for the reroll hit wound damage, which if he hits on 2s and he wound or hit wound saving throw. If he hits on 2s and wounds on 2s, that's very similar to rerolling hits and wounds.
Can the Blood Angel psychic power for exploding 6s target characters?
I don't believe so. I think it's just core. But yeah, you can give him that Warlord trait. You can give him Imperium Sword if you want. He natively heroic 6 inches.
Yeah, which
it's pretty good.
It's pretty darn solid.
And his relic doesn't take up any relic anyone else is trying to use. So if you are maximizing your relics and Warlord traits, then he's pretty good. No, he is great in Blood Angels. He's great in Space Wolves. Space Wolves a little less value because you already heroic 6 inches on any of your characters that you want. Yeah. But in White Scars, he super bangs.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. He actually did quite a bit of work for 70 points. Yeah. He always traded up every single game.
It's like one of the only good things that Space Marines still have is a couple of.
But he's secretly like nobody else really runs him.
That's true. I think if you're running Space Marines, I think you should just run a chapter champion.
Yep.
The guy is insane.
Yep. All right, so moving on over to the next one, we've got the call here. So you can make him a high call for 40 points or just keep it the base call. But why is he here? Well, there's a couple combos with him. The most popular one is to buff up his shooting, and that is to take the Grudges and Relic, and that gives him +1 to his AP on his weapon, as well as +1 damage. So his 4-shot Audiarch bolt, whatever it's called, bolt pattern weapon.
Autarch bolt pattern.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bolter.
It is some sort of bolter.
Whatever.
It's 4 shots, so it stays strength 4, it goes to AP 2 damage, and then if you give him a Warlord trait now, that and then the other part of Grudge's End is if they have a Judgment token, if you hit, you auto wound.
That's
and
real
he hits
good
on
when
2.
It's strength 4.
Exactly, so it's very easy to just get a whole bunch of auto wounds on there. So then you add a Warlord trait on here, a long list, and you get, first of all, Ignore Cover. So on an AP2 weapon, if you're in a mirror, you can go up to AP3 in half range. If they have Judgment token, it's quite solid. And then you also get Ignore Lookout, Sir. So all those pesky characters that want to do psychic actions against you or, hold down the middle, he's going to snipe them out, and he really does. And then finally, if you kill something in line of sight of him with Judgment Token on it, you can then swap one over at the end of the phase. So that's really nice. The high call, if he himself is a high call and kills something, you can also swap over. So there's nice Judgment Token synergy there of just being able to place them on other more durable things. It's particularly useful because usually Votan's just killing everything in line of sight, and so nothing's going to get those Judgment Tokens. But if you're playing against like Chaos with big demons or any like larger unit, you always get them to 3 very easily.
Yeah. Also, if you're running this guy in a mirror, there's several things. If you're running him out of a mirror, you're probably running him with a Rampart Crest to give surrounding guys an invuln. Yeah. But if you're running him in a mirror, which, most of the time
you have the invuln already.
You have the invuln already on everybody, so no need for a Rampart Crest. Oh, hey, Teleport Crest. Now my little character sniper guy can just teleport around wherever on the board he wants in order to get that line of sight. His range goes from 24 to 28 inches. And if he's within half range of you and you have a Judgment Token, he's no longer AP2, he's AP3 actually, still ignores cover. And that's the point where he just it's just a great little character assassin. He just pokes his head over here with a teleport and goes, all right, you're dead.
What I've been doing is I teleport the Hearthguard, give them Chapter Master, teleport the Hearthguard on a turn, go clear out like a whole zone, and then the next turn I teleport the Call into the space where they're going to walk into, and then finish off whatever's on an objective, and then I control that space with the team of them.
Yeah.
And I found that very effective. So, big fan. You can buff him up for combat instead. There's the Flayer. You do see it, because there's a good Warlord trait where you can get... I believe it's full rerolls and ignore phase caps.
It's a good Warlord trait.
It's something like that. There's a Chronos Hegemony one, and then there's a regular one that you can take. It's called Warrior Lord. And I believe you get ignore phase caps, and you get something else with it. And you can also take the Flayer Relic, which gives him +3 attacks. So he's actually not bad in combat. He'd have 7 attacks. It's kind of like the old Teeth of Terror guy, just a lot slower.
You reroll wounds, and they can't use any rules to ignore wounds it loses.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's not bad for a call.
No,
so if you wanted a bit more counter assault, that is one way to bring it into a list without having to pay for extra points on just a pure melee specialist.
I do like him as a shooty variant. If you're going to run the melee variant, I think we both like the Einherjar Champion a little more stat-wise.
Probably, but it's the case where I could see it in a double Hearthguard type of army where you want more than one call, because one call supports one flank, another one supports the other flank. If you're going heavier on core units to get the rerolls, I could see it there. But typically, I think the shooting one is better because that's what Votan do.
Yeah, and he teleports, so he gives you that little extra mobility that's really...
Yeah, and it's only one CP to teleport character, so it's nice.
And also, it makes your opponent move all their characters super weird, because they know you at any point you could teleport. You don't have to, but you just could, and they don't want you to just take a little angle and wax their master possessions. So
or you play like Nick and his chariots are just randomly out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, snipe.
Interesting. Is this a preview of what might be happening tomorrow on stream?
I won't be playing against chariots there, but it has happened on stream.
Yeah.
But GSC characters, heck yeah. All right, another character that's near and dear to your heart here.
Oh, yeah, love this guy.
So many options on this guy.
Back before I really learned and appreciated the orcs, this was still my favorite part of orcs. And it's still my favorite unit in orcs right now, is the Beast Boss on Squigsword. We'll never leave home without it, period. In fact, for talking back, I'm going to take 2. Just love Beast Boss on Squigsword. They're super awesome. Their base stats are great.
Look how thick he is.
He is so thick. He's the biggest boy. What are you going to step to that? No, you're not. Get out of here. If you guys couldn't tell, this is partly just a list of our favorite characters and how to get them out.
Yep. But they're also very good.
They're also very, very good. So my favorite way to get this guy out, is in Goths with Brutal But Cunning and Beasthide Mantle. Because, as I said, it's a perfect combo of offense and enough defense to mean your opponent can't just easily kill him. The profile on this guy is insane. Toughness 7, 9 wounds, -1 damage. That's nuts in and of itself. If you give him Beasthide Mantle, and he's a 5-up invuln as well. Give him Beasthide Mantle, he's a 5-up Feel No Pain. He gets +1 attack from his Choppa. He gets +1 attack from Beasthide Mantle. He gets +1 attack from the Wog.
He's got the chomps.
He's got the chomps, which are insane. They're strength 7, AP3, 3 damage, but if he rolls any 6s, it does 3 mortals instead. If you cast, I think it's Bite and Jaws on him, he gets an additional attack with the Chompa Jaws, and any 6s to wound are 4 mortals, and that's great. Also, any 6s he rolls in Goffs are an additional hit. So all of a sudden, you might roll your attacks with the Chompa Jaws and be like, oh, that's 5 hits now, and you're just taking a bunch of mortals, and it's AP3. And he has 1,000,000 attacks with the Choppa that then turn into 1,000,000 more attacks with the Choppa. I mean, even though he's AP2, the average is he, like, super kills a unit of Sanguinary Guard. He gives himself +1 to hit. So Sanguinary Guard just still get hit on 2s, which is actually very important for orcs because they kind of don't have a great way of killing Sanguinary Guard. So the ability to do that is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Love this guy. There's a multitude of ways to get him out. If you already use up your Brutal but Cunning somewhere else, you can give him Proper Killy in Goffs. So Proper Killy is an additional attack and additional AP on everything. So AP4 on the Chompa Jaws, AP3 on the slap attacks, and that's super good as well. And he gets an extra attack from that, an extra attack from Beasthide Mantle. If you're taking 2 guys, you take Proper Killy and you take it's some combination. Right? You take Proper Killy and you take a Brutal but Cunning as your 2 Warlord traits, and you take Arda's Nails. Or no, Arda's Nails is -1 to wound, so you can take any of those 3. And you take Beasthide Mantle and Edwapa's Kill Choppa as your 2 relics. And boy, do those 2 guys bang. Like, there's enough traits to go around to kit out like 3 of these guys.
And orcs are in that enviable position where they also have an amazing strat for characters, which is Fight on Death.
Yep.
Which means even if you do kill them in combat, you finish them off, they're going to swing back.
Yeah, they're taking you out on the way back. And also, he's great for biggest and the best because he's really hard to kill. As I said, like, the best characters are enough damage to kill what you point them at, and the rest of it's in durability, so your opponent can't deal with him.
Yep.
So he just gets to bowling ball through an army because no one thing your opponent can throw at him will deal with him. And if you're pressuring your opponent, they can't afford to direct a ton of resources to digging him out of your army. So he just keeps going, that unit's dead, and that unit's dead, and that unit. Oh, now you can't deal with him anymore. Cool. Dead, 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 dead. Love this guy. This guy's so much fun to roll out, too, because your opponent is left with, like, 2 models left, and like, oh, God, you didn't kill me. I'm like, yeah, that was the first half of my attack, so let's go again with the second half.
The thing is, when orcs create, like, a weird tradey type of game, your damage dealers go out, the kill rigs, whatever their main damage dealers, they're out in the early game, and then all of a sudden, it's just a bunch of super durable beast boss guys who require your main damage dealers to kill alive.
Absolutely.
Like, oh God.
Yeah, late game, this guy takes over a game like nothing else, because nothing can deal with him once both armies are, like, depleted. And that's when, because he's your warlord, he's standing on your side objective doing biggest and the best constantly, and then turn 3 hits, your opponent is now crippled and can no longer deal with him. You've lost a lot of your army too, but he just goes in and is like, all right, you can't deal with me. 5 on biggest and the best. 5 on biggest and the best. And you just, like, run through half their army. They also have exploding 5s to hit, which is insane with Brutal but Cunning, because suddenly you get a ton of extra attacks that then go into a second pool and you get to use again. It's nuts. I could talk about this guy for literally hours. Sieg, stop me, please.
Well, we got a super chat from Zlack Onion. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Where does the combo of Badrug and being hunched in the corner crying rank? It is top #1 for crying in the game right now.
Yes, if I want to cry, I will accept no substitutes other than Badrug and also myself hunched in the corner. Like a gremlin.
Next edition, Captain Badrug be absolutely insane. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
It's just the Pirate King everywhere. He deserves it. He's got a cool model.
He really does.
I would like to see, like, a pirate airship for orcs. That would be sweet. That's probably the thing that would get me to play orcs.
Yeah,
pirate airships.
I'll petition GW, see what we can do. I need to see you. I need to see you walk out occasionally.
All right, next up, model you don't see all the time too often because Custodes are kind of like middle of the pack army right now, but this guy is awesome.
This guy
is
feels
the shield captain on bike.
Very similar to the beast boss on Squigosaur. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, this guy feels very similar. So the combo is you take Emperor's Chosen, because that's just, like, by far the best.
There's a good what is it? What's the other one? Shadowkeepers guy you can make.
There's a really good guy. I'll mention him too. But In Emperor's Chosen, my preferred combo is Superior Creation, Arc Exemplar, and then he's probably the guy that you hold the redeploy relic, the Caston's Mark. There's no real good relic for him. You can take the bike that lets him double move once, but not do anything afterwards. It's fine. It's not great. But those two warlord traits, Arc Exemplars and you take Tip of the Spear on him as well, which is reroll 1s to hit and wound in combat.
Yes.
And because he has +1 to wound on his spear, he's almost always hitting on 2s and wounding on 2s, so you're rerolling everything. And then every kill you get, up to 4, gives you an extra attack on a hits on 2s, rerolling wounds on 2s most of the time, rerolling AP3 2 damage weapon. Those are 4 extra good attacks. And then Superior Creation gives him a 5-up Feel No Pain. He's toughness 6. He's a 4-up against mortals in that. He's incredibly annoying to deal with. He can fall back and charge once because you make him, you can turn him into Solar Watch, which is very strong if your opponent's like, oh, I just got to tie him up. I'm going to lose some stuff, but I got to tie him up. You're like, nah, it doesn't work. He's just great he moves very fast, moves 14. So he just like bowling balls around the side of the board. Just killing, taking over an entire flank by himself.
Yeah, he's a flanking piece in Custodes where they normally don't have that type of speed.
Yeah, he comes up with the rest of the army, and then at some point he just missiles out and like annihilates a flank by himself. This guy's insanely good. He's so good. He's in a mediocre army, but he is very good. The Shadowkeepers one, you take Stasis Oubliette, and you take Lock Warden, and you also almost certainly take Superior Creation. And Superior Creation's the 5-up Feel No Pain, just amazing on a 9-wound toughness 6, 2-up, 4-up model. Like, why not make it even harder to kill? Why not make it functionally 14, 15 wounds? And then Stasis Oubliette and Lock Warden together mean that he picks a unit and makes them fight last every single time he activates, which is just great. And he ignores invulns against characters. So that includes his salvo launcher.
Yep.
And hitting them with and he rerolls wounds against characters because he's Shadowkeepers.
Yep.
And he's -1 attack while you're in engage range of him. So he just goes into units and goes, yeah, you fight last, and also you're nerfed because you're -1 attack. Very difficult to deal with. If he lands right next to a character, because what happens all the time is he goes in, lands right next to a character, and just hits them with salvo launcher they don't get a save against, and just picks them up, and then charges into a different character and a unit, makes the unit fight last, so you can charge it with other stuff, and then picks up the character that he charged as well, and then some other unit of like bikes or whatever just picks up the unit that he made fight last. Just a great piece.
Yep.
Just a great piece.
Super good. This guy is awesome. Also one of the coolest models in the game. The Custodes bikes are... Them and the Terminators are what I love about Custodes. And unfortunately, they're not in the best spot, but like, man, those models are cool.
They are. They really are. Do you want to get charged by that guy? No, that looks like that'll hurt.
And it has.
And it has. I remember when GSC and Custodes came out, I was on the Custodes and John was on GSC. Like, we were both trying to figure out what those armies could do. And we played a stream game where the first loadout, the Arc Exemplar Emperor's Chosen guy, against John's GSC, heroic 6 inches into a unit of Metamorphs, killed all of them, took like 1 wound on their fight on death, and then jumped into his backfield, killed another 10-man unit of like Metamorphs and took like 1 damage, and then took his entire turn to the face while in John's deployment zone. Then from there, killed another unit, and then jumped out, killed another unit before eventually John put him down. It was backbreaking. That guy's insane.
Talking about insane backbreaking characters. Big boy, it's the Bloodthirster.
Yes, this is the biggest one on the list, for sure. He's a large boy. He works out, you can tell. He's looking thick and tight, you know. My preferred combo with this guy is you definitely take Brazen Hide. It's one of the best warlord traits in the book. In fact, you only get 1 warlord trait because demons gotta be written. They gotta be a specially unique snowflake. They gotta be weird. You can't take more than 1 warlord trait, I guess.
Do you not like that?
I don't like that. It's really frustrating, actually. But yes, it's probably the one you take. Brazen Hide gives him a 5-up Feel No Pain. On a 20 wound toughness 8 model with a 4-up in combat and a 4-up against shooting, it's really frustrating when he's functionally 30 wounds. So Brazen Hide is great, and then you can give him a relic. You can give him Blood Drinker Talisman. I usually don't. I usually give him Argath, the King of Blades. So Argath, the King of Blades, gives him +1 damage. So on his gigantic axe, the sweep attack is damage 3 now.
Which is where you want to be.
And the smash attack is D3 +4. And he ignores hit and wound modifiers, which is just great. Like when you're going into, let's say, a Thousand Suns Terminator unit, you now hit them on 2s because you ignore their hit modifiers. And then you're damage 3 on your sweep attacks. And you have 16 sweep attacks that wound them on 2s, and you just go, that's most of the unit, just dead right there. Yeah, because hit and wound modifiers, especially once you start getting bracketed, are really rough. I like, I think it's Indomitable Onslaught is, Rage Unchained is the one I like, which is one I don't see as often. It's you count as double wounds for the purposes of your degradation table. They degrade really poorly. And once you're on like your mid bracket, you hit on 3s and have 1 fewer attack. And then when you're on your bottom bracket, you hit on 4s, and that's just not acceptable for a 300 and change point
Nick
monster.
found that out with the fully degraded Bloodthirster, like charging a troop squad in Votan, and the Votan was like, "Oh, I lost a model."
People, yeah, people like taking the 8 wound face cap, and it's good. It's certainly good. It's great against Tau, that sort of thing. But
Guard have showed up.
First off, face caps don't matter against Guard. They have the finial of the Nemmerdash first, which just ignores that. But counting as double wounds for face caps means this guy just stays a threat longer in the game. You don't get to just bring him down to his bottom bracket and then ignore him because he hits on 4s.
Yep.
No. If he's down to 4 wounds left, he still hits really hard. And what you can do is just do the D3 heal. It'll get him up to 6, which counts as 12. Now I'm hitting you on 2s with my maximum attacks. So he doesn't go away until he's dead. And I like that.
Yeah, he is one of those characters you have to deal with because he is the killiest thing besides Flamers in Demons.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's him and Flamers.
And if he's near Be'lakor, which a lot of the time they will be next to each other, he rerolls 1s to hit. So suddenly he's hitting on 2s, rerolling, and he does mortal wounds at the end of his attack sequence. It's just, he hits very hard.
All right, moving on to the next character we have. It's not Voldus, it's the Grey Knight Librarian. There's no generic librarian model, but I'm using Voldus here as the example. So what is good about the Grey Knight Librarian? We kind of talked about him as an honorable mention, I believe, in the top characters. So what I'm going to talk about first is the offense.
Yeah, you've been really deep diving this character.
I have been deep diving the Grey Knight Librarian, and I've played so many games of Grey Knights over the past couple months that I have stopped losing the Librarian like a dingus every game. So he survived. In fact, I've been running double Libby, and I have both of them survive. So I've really upgraded my Grey Knight play. Anyway, part of that is doing a deep dive on this character. Why is he in the list? Well, first of all, he's the single unit in the Codex that can actually do a lot of damage in the Psychic phase with Mortal Wounds.
Yes.
It's because he can access both trees, the Dominus and the Sanctic disciplines. He's got 2 powers, and you go ahead and pick Vortex of Doom, and then you pick Purifying Flame. And both of those you can combo with stratagems to extend the range of them, as well as to roll 3d6, which makes them pretty reliable to go off. And he does a ton of mortal wounds. You can also spend a CP to cast an additional power, in that case a smite.
You take Psychic Epitome on him, right?
Against Jack, it's just 18 mortal wounds to Jack's face.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a Be'lakor you had no way to deal with. This guy rocks up 14 mortal wounds from 2 powers. You figured that one out yourself.
This guy's a man. And then, yes, you put the Warlord trait Psychic Epitome on there. And that gives +1 to your Witchfire spells. Doesn't work on the Smite, but on the other ones, it just adds up over time. And the cool thing is I went back and reread the trait because I thought it was just the dude, but it's at the start of the Psychic phase, you pick a Psyker within 6, a Psyker unit, for this Warlord trait. Which means I could pick a second Librarian who doesn't have this trait, teleport him off with Gate of Infinity, and if that guy dies, he dies, whatever. He traded for a bunch of mortals, and this guy's still rocking, so I have another turn of him.
Yep, and you like running Sigil of Exigence on this.
I'm getting there.
I know. It was too spicy. I had to.
So there's a bunch of defensive stuff. That's his offense. Offense is very solid. You're looking at between 105, 120 points, depending on what upgrades you put on him. But very reasonable for what you get. It is CP intensive, but that's most of where Grey Knight's CP should be going anyway. You need those psychic powers to go off. So defense-wise is what I've been experimenting with. So there's a relic called the Curse of Sacrifice, which means you get +1 save and 5 up Feel No Pain. Where have you seen this before? Literally the big hunter. And he's a 2-up armor, but this time he has Armor of Contempt. So he's sitting there, he's in cover, he's got the 1-up with the Curse, 0-up with cover, and then Armor of Contempt effectively means he's sitting at a 1-up, negative 1-up. That's just
a 2-up with +3 to your save.
Basically. So he could just stand out in the open against some armies and be like, I'm just taking 2-ups, and then I gotta Feel No Pain if I end up failing any.
Was that +1 from cover, +1 from the relic,
and then
Armor of Contempt to reduce incoming AP by 1. That is very durable. That's las cannons on 2s.
So you can actually put him in a position where, yes, he might get shot this turn because he needed to get an angle, but he's probably going to survive, and that's all you need. Now, there's various other ones. So there's an upgrade called Servant of the Throne that you can put on. And Servant of the Throne means that when he is declared as a target for ranged attacks, he can just teleport. So
doesn't have to. Which is the part where you do mind games.
So exactly, because if you put the Curse on him, he could actually just be defensive. Or if your opponent puts all the high AP guns towards him, you're just like, no, teleport out of there. So that is very useful because what I've been doing is Psychic Epitome guy gives the other librarian Psychic Epitome. He gates away, goes to do a bunch of mortals, but he has the teleport, so he comes back. And then I do it the next turn. And if the Libby dies, he dies. If he survives, I keep doing it. So I've been doing tons of shenanigans with this, and it's been really useful. You could also put the Sigil of Exigence on there for once per game 3-up invul.
The Sigil is the teleport.
Oh, sorry.
Servant of the Throne.
Servant of the Throne is the...
They sound very similar.
Yep.
And they're usually on the same guy.
Usually you would see these on this combo, this 3-up invuln once per game, and the teleport on a Grandmaster Dread Knight, which it is very good on him. Helps dramatically increase the survivability. But because Dread Knights have gone down in value since their guns really struggle into Armor of Contempt, those relics and upgrades are available for the librarians, and I've been using them to good effect there.
Yeah, I do like how you've just... How many times can I recur one librarian? And the answer is 3, I think.
It was a lot. Well, they haven't died. Like, they just survived because at that point I've, like, damaged their big damage dealers, and now they can't finish off the Libbies.
Yeah, because the last one that goes in is like, oh yeah, I am a negative 1-up armor save with a 5-up Feel No Pain, and I'm also, positioned smartly where it's going to be really annoying to get to me.
Yeah, if I have the CP, I could transhuman him if I wanted to.
Sure. Why not?
So it's very cool. I really am a huge fan of Libby nowadays. So that's what I've been experimenting with. I think it's one of the coolest combos Grey Knights can do.
We have a $5 super chat here from Peaches the Destroyer. A Wolfguard battle leader on Thunderwolf with Hammer, Shield, Pelt of the Beowulf, double Warlord trait, Resolve of the Bear, and Imperium Sword. Toughness 5, 6 wounds, 2-up, 4-up, 6-up Feel No Pain, -1 to hit and wound in melee. I like how that is a combination of offense and defense, which is all my favorite characters.
Yep, you've actually seen it in a lot of both of our characters.
Yeah,
the Enforcer
absolutely.
Commander, the Librarian.
Because it's kind of a recurring thing. If you kit out exclusively for damage, good opponents will snipe them out, will assassinate them, because it'd be worth doing. They're a big threat, not that durable. You don't need more damage than you need to kill the thing you're looking at. So anything past that is kind of extraneous.
Yeah,
and then you can put that into durability, and your opponent's like, oh, well, now I can't deal with it.
Both of us are prioritizing. We might not do the absolute maximum capacity damage here, but we're doing a little bit less, and we're keeping this damage alive for multiple turns.
Yes.
And when you get multiple turns out of, like, say, 120-point Grey Knight Librarian, or any
Beast
of
Boss,
any of those,
Bike Boss,
you get way more value out of them. It's insane value.
Yeah, if the Beast Boss gets to hit you 3, 4, 5 times, that's way more damage than any one character is going to do in one activation.
Even some of your killiest units, like the kill rigs.
Absolutely. We have a rules question here that I see from John Fick, that I see quite a lot, actually. Does Argath, King of Blades, override Transhuman because it ignores wound modifiers? No, it does not. That's a set value, and that does not. That's just these fail. 1, 2, and 3 fail. That's not a modifying to the. It's not a modification to the roll. That's just saying these fail.
Yeah, modifiers are like pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
Is how they use modifiers in the game.
Any -1 to hit, -1 to wound. He's a perfect Bellicor assassin for that. Ignores the -1 to hit, ignores the -1 to wound, hits on 2s, wounds on 2s, D3 plus 4 damage. Get out of my game.
But I like the Space Wolf character. Thanks so much for the super chat, Peaches. Honestly, when Nick ends up going back on his Wolf Saga,
which will happen any day now.
Any day.
Any day now. We have to bully him into it now, which is the funniest part.
All right, heading over to the next one. It's the Troop Master.
The Troop Master. There's a lot of combos for a Troop Master. If you are in light, you take... I mean, my favorite is Twilight. We'll get to him in a second. But if you are in light, you can give him Chegarak's Rose. You can give him Player of Twilight and Foot in the Future. And then you can give him either Queen of Shards, or you can give him... I actually still like Veiled King, even though you reroll your wounds. Veiled... So you give him a points upgrade, you give him 2 Warlord traits, you give him a Relic. Player of Light, I believe, has a 6-inch heroic, gives him a 6-inch heroic, and it also gives him +1 strength and attacks, which is very good. And then Foot in the Future is probably one of the best Warlord traits in the game. He advances D3 plus 3, and he can charge afterwards, and he charges at +6. Not D6 plus 6, he charges at +6, 2D6 plus 6. You can't declare a charge from more than 12 inches away, but you will make that 6-inch charge on checks notes a 5 on the dice. So that's pretty ludicrous. He goes insanely far across the board. Chegarak's Rose is Strength 5, AP 3, 2 damage, or AP 2? I think it's AP 2, 3 damage. Strength 5, AP 2, 3 damage, reroll wounds, which is very, very good. And if you give him Veiled King, he wounds anything except the vehicle on a 2, so that's just a very reliable wound roll. If you give him Queen of Shards, he ignores invulns on 5s to wound. Very solid. But my favorite is in Twilight, where you give him Twilight Fang, and you just give him Twilight Fang, Foot in the Future, and Veiled King. So you're not spending more than 2 CP on him, which is great, because Harlequins like their CP. Mm-hmm. He still goes very, very far with Foot in the Future. You get out of the vehicle 3 inches, you move 8, you advance D3 plus 3, and then you charge it +6. Like his minimum charge range is something like, if you're within 25 inches, he's at minimum charging you. Even if he rolls 1s on all his dice. Something like that, maybe it's 24. It's ridiculous, is the point. Twilight Fang is Strength 5, AP 3, 2 damage, but you get +1 attack for every battle round that it is. And Twilight gives you +1 attack. So this guy has like 8 attacks on turn 1 and 13 attacks on turn 5, and he hits on 2s and he wounds everything that isn't a monster vehicle on 2s, and so he's just a murderer. And he also has access to a bunch of stratagems as well. +1 strength and attacks if he is wounded. He can fight on death. He can go +1 damage when he charges in and just be damage 3 and scoop an entire unit of flamers. He's a nuts character, and he's a little scalpel you can just apply wherever you want and just kill whatever you want.
Yeah, he's just like a cheap version of a troop unit, but hits way harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Love this guy. This guy is so much fun. Solitaire is a little less fun, almost as much fun, so I include him too, but this guy's the sauce.
We got a $5 super chat from Mr. Dakota Phoenix. Thank you so much. Which factions have the best secondaries, and which ones have the worst? Necrons, Sisters, Orcs, Harlequins, I would say, are the top 4.
Yeah, and I think it's actually pretty set order, too. Necrons have by far the best secondaries. Then it's Harlequins. Then Orcs, weirdly enough, have a really good standoff score 35.
You think they're better than Sisters?
I think they are, actually. Because you literally have to do nothing, and you just get a 35. You have 2 Gretchen squads sit in the back, get a 10 on Green Tide, get a 15 on Get the Good Bits, and... then you have a character just sit on an objective and you get a 10 minimum. Like literally nobody moves, nobody does anything, 35. And then Sisters after that. In terms of the worst secondaries...
Admech, for sure, have awful secondaries. Votann have terrible secondaries.
Nids don't have great secondaries. But
they have the psychic one, Cranial Feasting, and then they can take banners. Like, Nids are fine. John is... No.
Yeah. No, if that army got... any better secondaries, nobody else would win again.
They have like middle of the pack secondaries, but they have busted data sheets, so they're not even close to worst.
But yeah,
I'd say Admech, Votann, what else is there?
If Votann got really good secondaries, they might be the best army in the game.
Space Marines
they
have shock tactics. That is a good secondary now.
It's fine.
If I can max against John, it's a 15. It's literally 15. If you're not brain dead, it's 15. I scored it against Sisters. Maxed it against Sisters.
Sure.
With Crimson Fist.
Sure.
It's a max.
At the finals, I also kept Zach to a 4 on it.
Yeah, I'm playing Crimson Fist, okay? I would have got that 15.
That you would have gotten that 15. The way that I did that was just by avoiding objectives like the Plague. If you push your opponent, shock tactic, they can't not stand on their home objectives. So shock tactics, if you push them, is a decent secondary. But if you sit back, you're not going. Good opponents will not give you the center objective.
No, you gotta go.
Yeah,
especially Blood Angels. Come on now. Come on, man. Zach, come on.
I was playing orcs, all right. I can log and go at any point.
But you gotta force the action. So.
But yeah, worst secondaries. Votann Admech are really bad. Space Marines are pretty mediocre.
At least they have shock tactics. There are other ones that are not good. At least they have shock
tactics. CSM are not great. They don't have great secondaries.
Yep, CSF have some bad secondaries. I think there's like a couple. Which of the sub-factions? Is it
Word
Fabius?
Bears. Word Bears have a good one. Fabius Bile is a decent kill one. Has a decent kill secondary. Emperor's Children, people thought was great, and it's just like terrible. Their secondary is terrible. You get a point if you shoot more units to death than they shoot of yours.
Yeah, CSM
you get
definitely
a point
have bad
if you
ones.
kill more units in combat than they kill of yours. You get a point if you kill more of their characters with your characters than they kill characters with their characters, which is just such a headache.
Yeah, so I think that's what we would go with. All right, so moving on. Speaking of which, Chaos Space Marines, we got the Lord Discordant, something that has gained increasing popularity recently in Chaos lists, so much so that you're starting to see like double Disco Lord, even triple Disco Lord lists.
Yeah, I think triple Disco Lord lists are a very viable pressure build.
So
they're super obnoxious.
Mark's currently running 2 of them. Nick wants to try out 3 in Fabius Bile and other sub-factions.
I'm really not against trying out 3 myself,
Tell us
honest.
about this, man.
So, Warlord traits and relics-wise, CSM have a selection of the best in the game. And then this is probably the best body to put them on. This and like a Demon Prince, but this is better than a Demon Prince at putting Warlord traits and relics on. There's just a massive variety of Warlord traits and relics you can do. You can do, first off, CSM can give a guy 2 relics as long as one of them replaces a weapon. So you can give him a demon weapon, which would be, there's a variety you can take. There's auto wounds and ignores phase caps, and feel no pains.
Goodbye, Abaddon.
There's ignores invulns. There's one that is just plus D3 damage. So he's damage 2 plus D3 and damage 3 plus D3 against vehicles. The Slanesh one is not as good on him because it requires 2 weapons and you can't replace the 4 limbs thing with a relic. That would be like Thearis and Riol. But you can give him the elixir of once a game D3 extra attacks, and you can only take 3 wound. You only take 3 wounds this fight phase, which makes him really obnoxious to deal with. There is a warlord trait for reroll wounds, straight up, just all wounds, and also 6s to wound are a mortal wound, and that applies to his shooting as well. There's reroll all hits, which I think also gives him like +1 strength and attacks. There's +1 strength and attacks and reroll hits, which is just an insane warlord trait. There's Unholy Fortitude for 5-up Feel No Pain, which on a 9 wound character with a 2-up, 4-up, and Armor of Contempt is really annoying to deal with. And then there's a variety of really good warlord traits in each of the different legions. I know Creations of Bile has a guy that's insane. Every hit roll of a 4+ auto wounds. And then it's like an additional AP on them. And then you give him the Tzeentch Demon... Tzeentch Demon weapon, and suddenly he ignores invuln, so it's like an extra AP, and he auto wounds on 4+ to hit, and they ignore your invulns, and you can get bent.
Looks like you can't take demon weapons with extra.
Oh, fantastic! I honestly think what you do is you just take a warlord trait and a relic on each guy, and you just go, all right, I start at 0, 3 guys.
Yep.
One guy rerolls all hits and is +1 strength and attack. One guy rerolls all wounds. Another guy takes whatever good
5 of Feel No
trait.
Pain.
5 of Feel No Pain. Then there's also good traits in the legions, like Emperor's Children has some good ones. Creations of Bile has some good ones.
+1 save, 4-up invuln.
Yeah, there's just a wide variety of great traits. And then you can take as many demon weapons as you want. You can take the elixir. You can take any relics that you want that might be good.
It's very similar to the Beast Boss on Squigosaur, is that it's a 9-wound character that you can't target. So if you deal with their main damage dealers, and then all of a sudden 3 Disco Lords are right next to you, and you're like, oh god.
Yeah. Mark took one that had the 5-up Feel No Pain and had +1 to its saving throws.
Yep.
And also when it died, it exploded, which auto explodes, which is like cute.
Yeah, it's like an anti-Abaddon trick, I guess.
Yeah, and he also has a 1-up armor save with Armor of Contempt and a 5-up Feel No Pain. Get bent trying to deal with that.
Yeah, the cool thing in Emperor's Children is you make the other one 5-up Feel No Pain with the psychic power, so then they both have it.
Yep, that's really annoying. I do like 2 or 3 of these actually quite a lot. Kitted out with Warlord traits and relics, these guys are brutal. They're just absolutely brutal.
Speaking of brutal, you ready? This is the last one. You have probably played against this many, many times across the edition. I know I have, and it's still one of the absolute best character combos in the game. It's the Succubus.
Succubus is still probably the best combat character that they've
for how cheap she is.
They've made for 9th edition. Drazar is like up there too.
He's at least
they compete
expensive.
with each other. They compete with each other, but as far as a generic character, like, oh my god, Succubus are still insane. I recently got a chance to play with Dark Eldar for the first time, like not that long ago. I took him to Crucible as kind of a let's have some fun, and oh boy did I have some fun. This Succubus is so much fun. So the basic combo, like the best combo, is Triptych Whip, Competitive Edge, and Show Stealer. So Show Stealer, after you fight, lets you pile 6 or consolidate 6 inches in any direction. You go in, get out, go in, get out, go in, get out. Like go in, go further, go tag a vehicle. And then once you're done fighting that vehicle, you then consolidate out and go charge deeper on the next turn.
Use the witch, consolidate into stuff, and use the witch ability to try and trap them.
Tell them they're not allowed to escape. Triptych Whip, I like giving her Hypex, so she has 2 inches extra movement, so she can get places further. Yep. She has 9 attacks with the Triptych Whip. That auto wound on 2s at AP 3, damage 2. And with Comp Edge, every attack that doesn't inflict damage, try again. And she hits on 2s, wounds on 2s, and then she just gets out afterwards so you can't hit her back. She's obnoxious. Also, when you charge her and then you don't kill her, and then she fights and she picks up the unit she's in combat with and then goes 6 inches in whatever direction she wants, behind a wall or something, or out of combat with a previous unit that she was fighting, and then she goes deeper in. You can't afford to miss on her. If she's alive on 1 wound, she'll interrupt, eviscerate something, leave combat with you so your second unit doesn't get to fight her. And
it's a problem.
It's a huge problem. If she gets to activate again, she just picks up whatever she wants. There's also a variety of combos you can do that aren't that. There's Dark Lotus Toxin plus Razor Flails plus Precision Blows, where you have 1,000,000 damage to attacks. Every 6 to hit is 2 mortal wounds instead. You're basically just fishing for mortal wounds, so it's not that reliable, but you can just be like, hey, 8 mortals, eat that. One of my favorite is Glaive Exquisite, which is Strength 5, AP 5, 2 damage. AP 5 is really high in this game right now.
Great in Armor of Contempt Land.
Great in Armor of Contempt Land. Just handing like Terminator 6-up saves or handing Marines no saves. And then you can give her a variety of... You give her Adrenal Light, so she has +1 attack. And then you hand her a variety of Warlord traits. There's Blood Dancer for 6 to hit, are 2 additional hits. Yep. There's... Master Executioner for reroll wounds. Unfortunately, a lot of this goes away on the 1st of January. So this is kind of
the Cult of Strife supplement?
Rip send off. Yeah, the Cult of Strife supplement goes to
But that's
sleep.
why it's important that there are other combos.
Yeah, there
in the codex, the base codex. Triptych
Whip
is in the base codex.
Triptych Whip is, but Comp Edge is not.
Yeah.
So you're losing Trip Whip, Comp Edge.
I didn't even take Comp Edge when I played Drukhari at the US Open finals. I just took the base codex stuff and was like, this is already broken.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, because then that makes your detachments easier. You don't have to have a Cult of Strife Warlord. Yep. But if you do, it's pretty worth it, because Comp Edge is nuts. Master Executioner, I think, is in the base rulebook, but Glaive Exquisite is in Cult of Strife. Blood Dancer is in Cult of Strife, but it's not in the supplement. It's just
their Codex one.
They're just Codex one. So yeah, there's a lot of combos you can do. Razor Flails, Dark Lotus Toxin is from Cult of Strife, but so rip, moment of silence.
They had their time.
All right.
Well, that is our list here. So you got actually 11 characters instead of 10. But like we said, these are more kind of our favorite, personal favorite characters that we either see often or we play ourselves. And there's so many different ways to get them out. But I think the biggest takeaway here is that if you want to kind of put a lot of emphasis in your list on damage dealing characters, you also want to focus on defense to keep them alive for multiple turns. So with the Master Succubus, it's that ability to go ahead and consolidate 6 inches any direction, get back behind boats. It's just, if you keep them alive for multiple turns, you get so much value out of them. It's insane.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're living.
Yeah, absolutely. Tivadar, the Master of Execution's pretty good. Just not, one of our favorite combos, but pretty good.
Yeah.
Basically any combo that you can put on the Disco Lord, you can put on the Master of Executions. He's cheaper and he's infantry, doesn't move as fast. Yeah. So
he's like
Lord
the chapter champion,
better at it.
Which we did for Space Marines, but we tried to do a smattering of factions, so we didn't just have tons from the same. Mm-hmm. But Chaos can do some absurd characters.
Certainly do.
But anyway, let us know what you thought of the video in the link below. In the description below. And if you want to check out any of the other streams we're doing this week, such as the Warhammer stream coming up later today with Mr. Jack here, what are you playing?
I'm playing demons, but I've got 4 big boys.
Big boy demons are back.
They never left, They're just big, rowdy dudes who are looking to have a big, good time with some Chaos Knights.
We got Nick playing his Chaos Knights, and then in future games, we're going to have some really cool matchups coming up next week, including Necrons vs. Emperor's Children, where you're going to get to see all those Disco Lords on the table. So a lot of hyped up. If you want to check out the Worm and all the awesome content like the new Masterclass series we've been releasing on every faction, click the description below, theartofwar40k.com/learn more. There's a sweet discount code on there, 50% off your first month of joining us. Join our community is the code, and there's testimonials as well as some sample content on there. So hope to see you in there. And if you have any comments, feedback, tell your friends about us. Every single like, every single comment really does help the stream, and we really appreciate it. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.